5. Masturbation secrets. Old men wish they knew sooner. What if I told you that you might be hurting yourself right now through a habit that seems completely harmless? I know, it sounds ridiculous, because it's something you and millions of older men have always been told is natural, harmless, even healthy. I'm talking about masturbation. But here's the truth. The way you do it after 60 can directly affect your circulation, your prostate, your mood, and even your sense of manhood. And no one has ever told you that. I'm Dr. Cole, a men's health expert with over 30 years of experience. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 secrets about masturbation that most doctors have never dared to reveal, not to make you feel ashamed, but to help you understand that your body is changing, and if you don't adapt, you may be losing far more than you think. And I hope you'll stay with me until the very end. Because the final secret, at least in my opinion, could completely change the way you age, the way you connect, and the way you live in the years ahead. Before we begin, leave your city or your age in the comments below. I want to know who is truly ready for this conversation. Secret 1. An erection isn't everything anymore. Doctor, I don't think I'm a man anymore. I've heard that line more times than I can count in my 30 years of practice. And not from weak men, but from veterans, engineers, teachers, devoted fathers. Men who were once seen as the backbone of their families and communities. All of them carried the same silent fear that when their erections weakened, their manhood faded with it. It haunts millions of men over 60. And sadly, no one ever gave them the truth. Here it is. An erection is no longer everything, and this isn't the end. It's your chance to evolve. You grew up in a time that only recognized manhood through performance. You had to be hard, last long, stay in control. No one ever taught you that true intimacy isn't measured by how hard you are, but by how present you are, how deeply you connect, and what emotions you bring. And absolutely no one told you that you can still experience powerful, satisfying pleasure without needing a perfect erection. Your body has changed. That's natural. Blood flows more slowly. Testosterone isn't what it used to be. Nerve signals take longer. But that doesn't make you less, not even close. Many men, once they learned this truth, transformed completely, that an erection does not define their worth. That orgasm and connection still exist if they can release outdated expectations and tune into what they truly feel. They began touching themselves with gentleness, patience, and self-respect. They stopped performance testing every time they masturbated and started listening to their bodies like an old friend. And miraculously, once they stopped forcing it, their bodies began to respond, not like when they were 30, but deeper, more real, and more fulfilling. I always tell my patients, stop asking, am I still a man? Start asking, am I being true to myself? And if you're still here with me, I want you to know something. You haven't lost your manhood. You're simply standing at a new threshold where maturity, emotion, and self-respect meet. Let go of the pressure to be as hard as you once were. Discover a new kind of intimacy where you can be fully yourself without comparison, without rushing, and without fear, because you deserve that. Desire doesn't retire. It just grows quieter, waiting for you to return and listen to it with kindness. And what surprised me most after decades working with older men isn't about the body. The emptiest feeling isn't losing physical ability. It's the silent disconnection between a man and his own emotions. And that brings us to the second secret, one you must not ignore. Because if you do, you could lose more than your erection. You could lose your very sense of self. Secret 2, masturbation is neurological, not just sexual. I once asked a patient, his name was Thomas, 69 years old, retired for a few years, when was the last time you felt happy? He stayed silent for a long while. Then he gave me a chilling answer. I don't remember, but I still masturbate every night. I just don't feel anything. He wasn't paralyzed. He had no testosterone issues, but he felt empty, numb, as if his body was still going through the motions, but his mind had checked out. After a long conversation, I realized something. He wasn't masturbating out of desire. He was doing it because he was lonely. Because that was the only moment in his day when he felt some kind of physical contact, even if it was silent, and with himself. And this is something many older men never realize. Masturbation isn't just a sexual act. It's a neurological reflex. It's emotional. It's how your body soothes an overloaded nervous system, one worn down by loneliness, anxiety, and the invisible weight of aging. When you masturbate the right way, meaning not rushed, and not focused solely on your genitals, you activate a cascade of natural responses in the brain. Dopamine makes you feel pleasure. Oxytocin calms your heart rate and eases stress. Serotonin improves your sleep. It's not just pleasure, it's self-healing. But if all you do is repeat the same old routine, rushing to get it over with and doing it on autopilot, what happens? You miss the entire sensory map your body used to have. And over time, you stop feeling altogether. Not because you're old, but because your brain has learned to shut down those emotional channels. I've met far too many men over 60 who come to me not because they're in pain, but because they can't feel anything anymore. Not physically, not emotionally. And if you recognize yourself in that, this is your wake-up call. Don't masturbate like a machine. Treat it as a private moment to reconnect with yourself. A safe space with no judgment, no pressure. A moment to feel, to breathe, to be alive. Because if you treat masturbation only as a release, all you'll get is a few minutes of escape. But if you approach it as a way to reawaken emotion, you can reclaim a sense of aliveness you thought was gone forever. And you need that, now more than ever. But even when you reconnect with emotion, that still isn't enough. Because if your body has been asleep for too long, you won't just lose feeling. You might also lose your natural ability to respond. And that brings us to the next secret, the one behind why so many men think they're impotent, when in reality, the truth is very different. Secret 3, use it or lose it, isn't a threat. It's the truth. I'll never forget the look in John's eyes, a 74-year-old man sitting across from me. He looked calm, but his voice caught in his throat. I don't think it belongs to me anymore, doctor. I think I've lost it. I asked him, what are you talking about? He answered, the feeling, the power, a part of myself I thought would be permanent. John hadn't touched his body in nearly a decade, not because he lacked desire, but because he believed that desire was something meant to fade quietly with age. He was wrong, and sadly, many men are making the same mistake. Because here's the truth. If you don't use it, you will lose it. Not because your body betrays you, but because you abandoned it first. When you stop touching, stop stimulating, stop listening, your body doesn't die. It simply shuts down piece by piece. Blood flow slows, nerves stop responding, smooth muscles lose their tone, the prostate holds onto stagnant fluid that is inflamed, and the sense of vitality, that sense of being a man, slowly fades. It doesn't arrive as pain. It shows up as silence. An entire emotional landscape that once lit up now feels like an empty field. And then the doubts creep in, not about your body, but about yourself. Am I past my prime? Am I just a shadow of the man I used to be? I'm here to tell you, no, you're not past your prime. You just need to restart. John began again with a simple act. Touch. Not to climax, but to awaken. Touching himself like he was knocking on the door of a familiar room, where his manhood and emotions used to live. A few weeks later, he returned, eyes brighter, voice full of confidence. Doctor, I never thought that just a little attention would make my body respond like that. And that's the truth I need you to remember. You're not weaker. You've just been forgotten, even by yourself. Remember this. Muscles waste away if you don't move them. Memory fades if you don't use your mind. And desire, strength, reflexes, they sleep if you don't wake them. Use it or lose it isn't a threat. It's a choice. Your choice. Starting today, you can let it stay silent, or you can call it back. Only you decide. But even if you've awakened your body and begun to feel again, there's still a hidden danger waiting. The way you touch yourself, if done incorrectly, can kill that feeling before it even has a chance to come back. And the worst part, most men are doing this every day without even realizing it. Secret 4, don't hurt yourself with bad technique. After decades of helping men from 60 to 90 regain their sensation and sexual function, I've come to realize something. There's one thing just as harmful as neglecting your body, and that's doing it wrong without even knowing it. I call it same grip, no lube, silent sabotage. You see, most men learn to masturbate as teenagers, silently, hurriedly, and always using the same hand, the same motion, the same tight grip. Over the years, your body adapts to that one method. The problem is, it's too rough, too tight, and too repetitive. What would happen if you ran for 40 years using only one leg? The joint breaks down, ligaments wear out, muscles become imbalanced. It's the same thing here. If you always grip tightly, never change sides, never use lubrication, the nerves in your penis slowly desensitize. They lose their sensitivity, and pleasure starts to fade. I can't count how many men have told me, I still masturbate regularly, so why is it getting harder and harder to feel anything? That's exactly why. And the tragedy is, they don't realize that the way they're touching themselves is what's numbing their own pleasure. They think they're maintaining a habit, but in reality, they're silently wearing themselves down. So from now on, I want you to stop thinking that changing the way you masturbate is strange or weak. On the contrary, it's smart, it's self-respect. Switch hands, change speed, shift rhythm, use a good quality lubricant. Not because you're dry, but because you respect your skin, your nerves, and your capacity to feel alive. You're not 25 anymore, but if you still want to feel something at 75 or 85, this change is not optional, it's essential. Because if you don't change, you won't just lose pleasure, you'll lose your right to feel alive. But even after correcting your technique, even after learning to touch yourself more gently and wisely, there's still something even more dangerous than any physical mistake. Secret 5, don't withdraw from guilt. You still deserve this. Guilt has paralyzed more men than illness or age ever could. It's not low testosterone. It's not your prostate. It's that quiet voice whispering, you're doing something wrong, every time you touch your own body. If you've ever felt that way, you are far from alone. According to surveys, more than half of men over 60 still feel sexual desire, but nearly 70% feel ashamed or embarrassed after masturbating. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because society taught them that the most natural part of being human is something to be hidden. We were told that sexuality is shameful, that masturbation is weakness, is dirty, is something to feel guilty about. But here's the truth you need to hear, loud and clear. Masturbation does not make you less of a man. Feeling does not make you weak. And desire, never ever, is something you need to apologize for. You've lived your whole life carrying responsibility, being strong, and sacrificing for others. And if even now, you still want to connect, to feel, to live truthfully in your own body, that's not indulgence. That's proof your heart is still beating, that you're still alive. And if your body has changed, if you can't feel or perform the way you used to, then now, more than ever, you need intelligent, gentle, safe tools to support you. Let go of shame. Wearing glasses doesn't make you stupid. Using a cane doesn't make you weak. And using assistance in self-pleasure only proves that you are wise, caring, and deeply respectful of yourself. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not some outdated mold of masculinity. You are a living, feeling man, and you deserve respect, even when you're alone. So stop hiding, stop withdrawing, stop letting those old voices pull you backward into a shadow of yourself. Look in the mirror, take a deep breath, and say it out loud. I'm still here. I still feel, and I don't need to apologize for that. Here's the full English translation of your text, formatted into flowing, professional paragraphs without arbitrary line breaks. There's a reason many men over 60 feel increasingly empty the more they masturbate, because they do it out of habit, not as a meaningful experience. It becomes rushed, unconscious, and mechanical, a way to release tension, to fall asleep, to forget. But the cost is very real. They no longer feel connected. They no longer feel emotion. They no longer feel like themselves. You can drink wine to savor the flavor, or just to get drunk. You can listen to music to truly hear it, or just to fill the silence. And in the same way, you can masturbate as a sacred ritual of connection, or as a mindless routine you get through just to be done with it. But you deserve better. Your body, after everything it has carried, deserves to be touched with presence and respect, not rushed movements and disregard. It's time to stop treating masturbation like an instinctual act. See it instead as a date with yourself, a private ritual where you don't have to perform, hurry, or fear judgment. Play some soft music. Prepare the space with care. Breathe deeply. Touch your body like it's the first time you've truly listened to it in years. Use your hands not to stimulate, but to communicate, to ask, "How are you feeling today?" And then wait patiently for the answer. Because what you need deep down isn't just an orgasm. What you truly crave is the feeling that you're still alive, still capable of feeling, and still worthy. When you turn habit into ritual, you stop being a seeker of pleasure and become the guardian of your own masculine identity. Don't touch to release. Touch to remember. Don't rush to finish. Slow down to feel. Because every time you do it with presence, you're reminding yourself, I am still here. I am still me. And I still matter. I know. Maybe you're hearing this now with a strange mix of emotions, a sigh of relief, and a tightness in the chest. Maybe you feel understood for the first time in years. Maybe you feel regret for waiting too long to hear these words sooner. I understand. And I want you to know that feeling doesn't make you weak. It means you're still alive. We've just gone through 5 truths together. But really, what I wanted to give you wasn't just knowledge. It was permission. Permission to feel, to desire, to touch yourself, without guilt, without shame, without believing it's too late. Because you're not late, you were never late. You were just taught to stay silent. Maybe you've grown used to your body's silence. Used to those sighs after moments when there's nothing left to feel. Used to passing your reflection in the mirror without stopping to look. But deep inside, something in you has never died. Something no age can take away. The desire with your mind, to be fully yourself, but with your heart. You can begin again. At any age, no matter how long you've neglected yourself. Beginning again isn't about going back. It's not about reclaiming the past. It's about rebuilding what's been waiting to live inside you. You don't need to perform like you used to. You only need to become the kind of man you can be proud of when you see yourself in the mirror. You've been strong. You've provided for your family. You've survived war, loss, illness, and heartbreak. That means you're strong enough to do something even harder now, to let go of shame and be kind to yourself. Don't let age become an excuse for silence. Don't let exhaustion become a reason to abandon your masculinity. And don't let anyone, not even yourself, convince you that it doesn't matter anymore. Because, let me tell you, it does matter. It's what's keeping you alive. Here is the English translation of your text, formatted as well-structured paragraphs without arbitrary line breaks, sensation, connection, pleasure, masculinity, dignity. None of these are luxuries. They are your birthright. And you deserve to reclaim every one of them from the very place you once withdrew. Maybe you'll start with a gentle touch, a single deep breath, a moment where you stop, not to get it over with, but to ask your body if it still has something left to say. And I promise you, if you begin with tenderness, your body will slowly respond. Not like it once did, but perhaps exactly as you need it to now. And the best part? You don't need anyone's permission. You only need yourself. You are the one who gets to decide to keep fading or to choose to come alive again. You've been silent long enough. Now is the time to return, not to prove anything to anyone, but so you can once again look in the mirror and nod with pride. If you're still here listening, I want to say something from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Because that means you didn't give up. You pushed through doubt, discomfort, maybe even fear to hear something important, that you still matter, and you still have the right to feel. I know, topics like this aren't easy to talk about, and they're not always easy to hear. But if you felt understood today, if something I shared touched a part of you that's been waiting, then I'd like to ask you to do something very simple. Leave a comment below about what resonated with you the most. There are thousands of men out there, just like you, who have also stayed silent, felt ashamed, and believed they were past their prime. But today, you opened the first door, and by leaving a message, you might help someone else realize they're not alone on this path. If you found this video helpful, don't hesitate to hit subscribe, because what we just talked about is only the beginning. I have more lessons, more messages I believe every man over 60 needs and deserves to hear. We've been told to stay quiet for far too long. Now is the time to speak, to reconnect with ourselves and with each other. Let's begin this journey together, one step, one breath, one heartbeat at a time. You are not too old to change. As long as you still want to live, truly live, I'll be right here walking beside you.